I'll try and address some of the questions raised by Mr. Chaturvedi and Mr. Malik and Dr. Varsha, which I have noted down, so I'll keep here. I won't miss these questions. But they're important and interesting questions because we're living in a new world. And if you look at this market for rice bran oil, now I say this because rice bran oil, I think, is the youngest product category in the edible oil segment. Am I right? Yes. All right. So now, being the youngest, we have certain advantages and certain disadvantages. For example, I'll just give you an example. A big advantage. Disadvantage to begin with. Nobody knows us. They don't know too much about us. They don't know too much about rice bran. They think it's, what goes into soap. They think that's what the pigs and the cows should be eating, not human beings, all right? So these are perceptions people have. The good thing about it is, being the youngest brand, is perceptions are not ideas that consumers are born with. Perceptions are ideas that consumers gain from their environment and build on it. For example, one of the interesting things Mr. Chaturvedi said in his comment, he said, this business about fair and lovely, about dark oils versus light oils. Correct? Indian consumer wants light oils because they like everything light. Is that true? Yeah. Now you ask any one of my friends, who are in the business, Mr. Mehta sitting there, if I have a dark olive oil and if I have a light olive oil, which one commands a higher price in the Indian market? So consumers may have been born with one idea, but down the line, the idea has changed because now they go looking for dark oils. Because dark olive oil means it's physically refined. They know it by association. So point number one, perceptions are not things people are born with. Perceptions are what people acquire from their experiences, from knowledge, from information. And the good part about it is, perceptions are created. So who creates these perceptions? Well, there are two ways to do it. One is to allow the market to create a perception of its own about your product. And two is to help the market create a perception about your brand the way you want them to perceive your brand. And that, I believe, is the true challenge of marketing rice bran oil. So let's go into this. You see, I like to believe now that the market for rice bran oil, the market for any product, has now been split into three different marketplaces. We have the traditional mom and pop stores, the kirana stores, what we call the general stores, where people go and buy their oil from, where I say 90% of this country goes and buys its oil from. Can rice bran oil be promoted through these stores? The answer is yes. Yes, this is the traditional mode of marketing, but it's a long and hard road. I've been involved with brands and building brands. And Dr. Mehta says I never market myself, so I want to prove him wrong. I've done about 35 brands so far in the Indian market, and I have gone from village to village, literally promoting and checking out my brands. And I have found that out of all the 4 Ps, I'm sure all you marketing people in the audience know about the 4 Ps, the greatest challenge is place or distribution in India. I tell people, if you're in the United States, you're in Singapore, if you're in Europe, and you want to get your product on the shelf, it's so easy. Contact Walmart, they'll squeeze you till the last penny, but you can ensure that your product will be available on all the shelves within a fortnight. Correct? Call Costco, call Tesco, call whoever you want, and you have your products out there. Within 15 days, every single consumer in the United States of America gets an opportunity to see, touch, feel, taste your product. Try doing that in India. Do you know the average time it takes for a brand to reach the last shelf in the country? Well, I'll tell you the secret. It's been 66 years, and 99.9% of them have not yet reached the last shelf of the country. And why? Because it's almost impossible to get there. Infrastructure. Interesting. Just as an aside, the other day, Mr. Bill Gates was being interviewed, and he said, you know, if a country deserves a Nobel Prize, it should be India. Because, sorry, is this okay? Yeah. If a country, no, I think this has gone off. Check. So it says, if, I think I'm shouting into it. Okay, check, yeah. Check, mic, check.
Check.
All right. Shall I use that one? Don't worry. Can I borrow? Thank you. No, this will do. So Bill Gates says, if a country deserves a Nobel Prize, it's India, because India has managed to eradicate polio through its Pulse Polio campaign. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm a victim of technology. We are all victims of technology. So is rice bran oil. I'll tell you why in a moment. Because India has managed to eradicate polio, and the great part of it is the polio vaccine that needs to be preserved at 7 degrees had to be transported in indigenously built thermocol boxes, which were carried on heads by people crossing rivers and streams on foot, through valleys and through mountainsides, to reach 85,000 villages in India that don't have electricity. Now try getting rice bran oil to them. You can't. So, do we need to? The choice before us is, and someone asked the question, I think it was in Mr. Malik's presentation, should rice bran oil be a mass oil or should it be a health oil? Right? Sanjay, you asked that question? All right. Well, the answer is, as a marketing man, I don't care. I don't care who consumes it. I don't care how it's consumed, as long as it's consumed. But if I have a choice, or if I have to choose between promoting it as a mass oil or a health oil, my guess would be, listen, you'll sell a lot more as a health oil, for a simple reason. You don't have unlimited potential to produce rice bran oil. You have a limited potential. You can make about 3 million tons. Am I right? Pardon? No, we are doing less than 1 right now. But the total potential? About 1.5, about 2. So you don't need to go to the mass market, because the mass market is A, very expensive, B, very tough, and C, almost impossible to cover. So how do I sell 1 to 1.5 million tons? So simple. We have now new formats that have come up. The modern retail format and the e-tailing format. Today, rice bran oil is being bought in this country for just 2 reasons. Just 2 reasons. Reason number 1, it's good, healthy oil. And reason number 2, it's comfortably priced. Let's not fool ourselves. The largest selling category in this country is palm oil, am I right? With about 46% market share, for only 1 reason. Pardon? Price. So that is your mass market for you. Rice bran oil has little or no competition on the health segment, because people who are terribly healthy, like Dr. Varsha mentioned, the olive oil segment, can afford a price, whereas rice bran oil can reach the segment just below that, which is conscious about its health, at a comfortable price. And that's why you've seen this rise in preference for rice bran oil. So we've got to look at who then buys from these 3 markets. The Kirana stores would be your mass market. Your presence there might help, not absolutely necessary, but it's the modern retail format which will sell maximum rice bran oil. And I'd like to be corrected during the question time. If there are people here who are in the business of the trade, who could tell me whether what I'm saying is correct or no. So what we need in the modern retail format segment is shelf presence. We need to have A, packaging, B, availability, C. We need to have good pricing strategy to stand out of the shelf, because there you don't have anyone to talk about your product. You don't have a counter salesman. You don't have someone to promote the product. It is self-promoting. And here is where the moment of truth comes about. I don't want to talk about the moment of truth because this is another long topic that I normally talk about. But here is where you come face to face with the consumer, and now the effort you've made to build that perception begins to pay off. Would the consumer look at only the price tag? Will the consumer look at the color of the product? Will the consumer look at what's written on the pack? Will the consumer buy it because it's rice bran oil? Now, here is where you'll have to kind of build a perception where consumers exhibit a preference for the product. And the third, of course, is e-tailing. All of us are victims of technology. The other day, my son was telling me, he said, "Dad, you're such a boring guy. You know, when you were my age, you had 2 channels on your television set in black and white, correct? You never had Google and internet. I mean, there were no DVDs. What a boring life you led." And I said, "Yes, my son. We were idiots. We spent all our lives building computers, my generation, and the internet and Google so that you might have fun. Now you tell me what you're going to build for the next generation." Well, today all of us find ourselves swamped with a cell phone that talks to you, a cell phone with an internet connection, with Wi-Fi. And interestingly, if you look at this way the e-market's growing, at least in the cities where you have good infrastructure, it's amazing. The number of portals now coming up selling groceries. I mean, in Mumbai, we've got Big Basket, you've got I can't remember the name of the portals, Local Banya. And you see how it's moving so very fast in the cities because convenience is the key. Now the question I have is, how do we market a product through a portal? Who decides which brand the consumer is going to buy? How does the consumer order a brand? How does she know which product category to opt for and which brand is available and which brand to offer? All of us talked about awareness. Yes, but awareness comes with a big price tag. You can use the traditional routes to awareness. You can use press ads. We all know what they cost. 1 crore a jacket on the Times of India. 2 crores for All India or whatever. We all know that you can put an ad on television and you can advertise. Yes, you can. And we all know that campaign will cost you at least 50 to 100 crores, correct? The point is, how many of us manufacturing rice bran oil with a limited end point can afford it? So the answer is, we've got to look elsewhere. Traditional marketing, traditional strategies are not going to help us to promote rice bran oil, because nobody got to a new place by walking on an old road. If we got to get to a new place, we got to find a new route to get there. So that's what brings me to the nub or the core of my presentation this morning. We need to figure out 2 things. Three things. How do I build a perception in the consumer's mind about my product, about my brand? B, how do I get that consumer to exhibit a preference for my product, for my brand? And C, how do I get to the consumer in a physical form, or physicality of it. Physically, how do I reach there? I believe one of the greatest tools we have at our disposal for product awareness is the internet. Just look at it simply. The other day I met a gentleman who was in this business of, he used to be in the business of importing products, food products. So I asked him, what's up? What are you doing now? He said, well, I've gone to manufacture and I'm my own brand of olive oil. I said, what? Where do you find olives in this country? He said, no, it doesn't work that way. He says, you know what I do? I've got this fellow in Italy. We have registered a company there, so the package has got an Italian address. It has an Italian name, and he's my partner. So I gave him the name. That's extremely Italian sounding. He imports the oil here, labels it, packages it, and sells it. Anything that is green in color, anything that has an Italian name, and anything that's priced more than 600 rupees sells. And I thought that was pretty interesting, because here was a product category created not by any particular brand, or not by, because you've got millions of brands in the Indian retail, on the retail shelf, and some of the names are so confusing, I don't even bother to remember them. But I suspect many of those names have Indian origins. Casa de Patelo. Okay, or Casa de Metajo. Dr. Mehta, suggestion. All you need to do is put an Italian sounding name and you got a promotional campaign for olive oil. Now I was wondering, supposing we took all the information that Dr. Varsha and everyone else has, we get some Charlie Brown who is very good at blogging, at getting on to the internet, at putting articles, placing articles on all the fitness sites, on writing about rice bran oil, and he does all this work for a fraction of your advertising budget. What's going to happen? 7% of this market that's consuming oil begins to develop a perception of rice bran oil that you want them to develop. 7% of this market begins to believe that darker the oil, better it is, because it has been physically refined and not chemically refined. Good news. You've got a cost-effective way of spreading the news about your brand, about your product, without having to spend millions and crores on television advertising and brand ambassadors. But this is a crazy idea, right? Has it been done before? Is it possible? Well, I could think of only two or three cases where it's worked. Almonds. Almonds. How many of us in our childhood ever ate an American almond? Rabindranath Tagore wrote of Kabuliwala. You remember that? He sold almonds from door to door. The best almonds were from Afghanistan, from Kabul, right? How did they become American? Okay. Just a sustained campaign by the Californian Almond Board. And today, almond is the largest selling nuts all over the world, including Asia. I think we need to take a leaf out of the book. Look at milk. At one time, we would stand in a queue at the ration shop with a ration card at 5 o'clock in the morning, hoping to get your day's quota of milk. And somewhere down the line, we had a white revolution. And then people began pouring milk down the drain because no one was consuming it. And then you had the milk campaign. I don't want to go too much about it. And this is my favorite product category, eggs in India. Sorry, all you vegetarians, but this is a purely vegetarian product that nobody knows about. Eggs. Check out the booklet written by Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, I read it myself. One of the most successful product categories in this country. In fact, I'm very proud of this because I've been closely involved with this segment, and next month I'm addressing their conference in Namakkal. And today, India is number 4 in the world on egg production. And India is marching ahead in a big way. But again, it was promotion. Sunday ho ya Monday. Wasn't that the line? Roj khao ande. And Sachin Tendulkar and all the rest. But again, it wasn't by a brand. It was generic promotion. All right? Now that is the key. The key is, first of all, I'm very glad we have something like IARBO. Congratulations. Because let's not be myopic and look at rice bran oil only from the Indian context. I think that's a bad idea. If South America has soybean oil, if North America has corn oil, if Europe has olive oil, I see no reason why Asia can't have its own oil called rice bran oil. I think we must look at this product as, and try and get a country of, or at least a continent of origin stamp on it. Right? You have wines for France, like you have champagne for France, because Asia is the only continent that produces rice, right? So America can't start producing rice, and they can't start producing rice bran oil. So now is the time to move in and claim ownership for this category. Now is the time for IRBO to do a generic promotion in its markets with contribution from all its members. And the promotion need not be on the mass media. It could be over the internet, through your sites, through your fitness sites, through digital marketing. I think what you need is a well thought out digital marketing campaign directed at the next 5 years. And I'll tell you why. The reason is because, sorry, I'm going to talk about India. The average, the median age of India. Can anybody tell me what the median age is? It's moved from 24 to 27.5. That means more than 50% of India is less than 27 years old. And what do you think those guys are doing? They're Googling. They're on the internet. They're all over buying products from Jabong and Flipkart and Amazon, so much so that Amazon has to now have Amazon.in. And Amazon is looking at India as its largest market, which it is. Now is the time to move in, because these are the perceptions you want to change. You don't worry about that old lady in Chennai who thinks, you know, or that old man who thinks it's fresh oil because it's loose oil. Don't worry about him. He's not going to be consuming oil for long. It is the 24 and the 27-year-old who has to change his perception. And you can change his perception using the internet. You know why? Because all the 24 and 27-year-olds I know, most of them my students, I am a professor of management, so I teach the MBA courses. Most of them don't read newspapers. So, there's no point wasting your money there. They're not going to get your message. But every one of them are glued to their cell phones and to Wi-Fi and to WhatsApp, and they sleep with it. And if you take it away, they wake up insecure. So that's the medium we're going to be using. That's the medium we're going to use to build a new perception, a new thought, a new idea, which can come through the internet. So, I strongly feel that this is the way to go. For this, you need a new kind of campaign which would extend over 3 to 4 to 5 years. It would mean a lot of money, so it would mean contributive campaign. It would be a generic promotion, and I think we'll get there very soon. Okay? I don't think there's much left for me to say, except that what should we promote rice bran oil with? Price or health? Well, I think price is soon going to get irrelevant, because price is what market decides, not what I decide. But health and the health platform is what I create and I build. So let's build it on a health platform, and the market will decide the price, and hopefully the market will buy our product. Thank you once again for having me here. With this, I'll end my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hansel, for the wonderful presentation. And I'm sure many sitting in this audience are going to take a leaf out of your presentation and maybe use the internet more than what we've used till now. And as far as the generic promotion goes, why not? And I think now the kitty with Mehta ji is also pretty strong.
Sir, you are a vice president also.
So we will definitely be doing generic promotion. Do we have time for questions?
Then we'll skip the tea break.
Yes, can.
Energy break. Of course, the tea is being served. If anybody wants to take the tea, they can go out and have a tea. Then we can continue the session.
leave it to the
Is it
audience.
okay? Is it okay with everybody? Then
Any questions from the audience?
I really appreciate for the excellent one. It's a new for me. Few suggestions I like to make. Now, our presenter has said very nicely, Hansel, one flag has become 5 flags. I wish Mehta must make it next time. There should be 30 flags